Hi everyone, Josh Knight the First here again with another Exade replay, here to talk to you about episode 9 of Kamen Rider Exade. Let's get right into it. So here we are in episode 9, and we're delving into some of the backstory of Emu's past, specifically why he's capable of using a gamer driver without having been operated on it, since that's covered in the last episode. We learn a lot more about that and how that might have actually happened. So for starters, let's talk about the threat of this episode. So as we saw last time, Graphite stole the Proto-Drago Knight Hunter Gasshat from the Genmu Corporation and has decided to use it on himself. The reason being, he wants to create more bugsters to take over Japan. That makes sense. Beyond that, what we seem to find out is that Kuroto-dan, the president there of the Genmu Corporation, seems to have this right in mind. He wanted him to steal that Gasshat, that way he could amass more data for himself. For what reason? We're not sure yet. But as far as Kuroto-dan's concerned, this is all according to plan. But the bigger picture here, going back to what I said at the beginning, is who exactly was infected. So in the first episode there of Kamen Rider Exade, we saw the introduction of the deputy director there of the Ministry of Health, whose name is Kyotaro Hinata. He was just a character that was talking to Asuna/Poppy People Papo there in the beginning, who knows of the Bugster virus. But now we know something much more important about him besides that. It seems that 16 years ago, all the way back when Emu was first admitted to the hospital, he was the attending physician. He was the one who saved Emu's life all those years ago. He was the person who operated on him, saved him, set Emu on the path that he's on now. If somebody saved my life, I should take this second chance at life and use it to save others. So in that sense, he's very much responsible for what we're watching now, aside from the Genmu Corporation. And as such, he was targeted by Graphite. Graphite infected him with the Gasshat itself, which is interesting. Instead of using the Gashakon bug visor to infect him, he actually used the prototype Gasshat itself, which is an interesting way of doing it. I've never seen that done before thus far. And of course, the reason that the Bugster virus spreads is that the host is infected and then more stress is put upon them. In this particular case, Dr. Kyotaro decided that he didn't want the public to know about the Bugster virus. He didn't want to create a panic. So to that end, Graphite, who already wants to infect the public, decides to do just that in order to send him into a frenzy and to go ahead and advance the virus. Now this whole time, Kuroto-dan has been playing both sides. He's working with the bugsters, but at the same time, he seems to be wanting to amass this data for his own gains. So aside from providing Graphite with the opportunity to steal that Gasshat, he's also giving a Gasshat to the CR. This of course being the Drago Knight Hunter Z Gasshat. Now when he gives it to them, he tells them, now this is incomplete, we need the battle data from the monster you're currently fighting. Now this goes back to another problem we've been having the whole time, the fight between Emu and Hiro as far as what it means to be a doctor and thereby a Kamen Rider. They're acting exactly the same as they did a few episodes back. As soon as Hiro shows up at the CR, he immediately wants to operate, immediately wants to go ahead and have a fight there in the CR, and Emu isn't having that. He wants to save the patient, take very good care of the patient, even more so when this is the guy who saved his life. He owes a debt to him. Now as far as that goes for characterization, this is right on point for Emu. Now that we have this information widely known to us that Dr. Kyotaro is the one who operated on him, of course Emu would want to save him. Why wouldn't you want to save the person who you owe your life to, essentially? As far as Hiro's concerned, he seems more preoccupied with defeating Graphite and getting revenge than he does being a good doctor, which doesn't make any sense. His dad, on the other hand, he seems to be very much about that, you know, we're doctors, we work at this hospital, he's the head of it, show some respect. Hiro doesn't seem to care about that. That's interesting to see about his characterization, that he's going to be that focused on it this early. I would figure they'd want to drag that out a bit, or that Hiro would be more about being an upright, prim and proper doctor, but I guess in this case he wants to be more of an a-hole. Now, of course, the new Gasshat that we're introduced to in this episode is the Drago Knight Hunter Z Gasshat, which of course is based off the Monster Hunter game series. Monster Hunter, of course, is a very famous game series that requires 4 people to play, where you go around the world, hunt monsters, and collect armor, which very much makes sense given what we're going to see in this episode and then later on next week. So when it comes to the major fight of the episode, it breaks down into basically 2 fights. We have Brave versus Graphite on one end of the field, and on the other end we have this giant dragon versus Snipe and Exade. Now Brave and Graphite, they don't really go anywhere. Palad's watching both fights, kind of actually cheering for him for some weird reason. Over on the other end, Snipe keeps trying to, as he's been for the last couple of episodes, trying to take the new Gasshat, and kind of punks him out, which is a nice little bit of humor there. But eventually they do defeat the dragon, the data is gathered in the Gasshat, and Emu achieves his level 5 Drago Knight Hunter gamer form. Now before I go into the actual usage of the Drago Knight Hunter Gasshat, I want to talk about why it is that this is a level 5 form. A lot of people, especially when the scans were released, were wondering, well, we've gotten our level 3 forms, why are we going straight to level 5? There's a reason for this, and it's very cultural. The reason being, the easiest way I can put it, is that over in Japan, the number 4 is unlucky. It's kind of superstitious. When you're counting in Japanese, you know, ichi, ni, san, shi, the number 4 sounds very close to their word for death. As such, it's usually avoided. It's similar to how over here in the States, when you're in a hotel, you'll never see a number for a 13th floor. It's just unlucky and we just keep away from it. Most people overlook it because it's that ingrained into our culture. It's the same thing over there with the number 4. There was a very similar case to this many years ago in Kamen Rider Den-O when Momotaro's refused to use the number 4 in a sure kill attack. He went from 3 all the way to 5, and then in that particular case, Ryotaro commented on, "Oh, so you skipped it." And everybody over in Japan would absolutely get that because that's their culture. That's how it works over here with the number 13, so that's why they skipped level 4. In a nutshell. But that having been said, Emu does receive the power of the Dragonite Hunter Gasshat and achieves this new form with different parts of the body colored differently to correspond with the other riders that are supposed to be using it. Now, as Kuroto-dan warned him about earlier in the episode, Dragonite Hunter Z, much like Monster Hunter, was designed for a 4-player co-op, meaning if one person is going to use it, they won't be able to wield that power well. And that's exactly what seems to happen. Graphite does get hit with Emu's attack, but Emu isn't quite able to finish the job. And that of course goes into next week's episode where we'll see the power of Dragonite Hunter Z split up amongst the 4 riders, Exade, Brave, Snipe, and Laser, where they all use a bit of the power individually and team up to take on Graphite. So at this point in the series, we're moving along very quickly, but not too quickly, and I like that. So far, we're seeing power-ups, but the power-ups are making sense so far. I appreciate how they're still calling back to the idea of a surgery being necessary for a Kamen Rider, but it's interesting to see that the way they describe it, it's more of an inoculation. As Hiro and his dad describe it, you're given a small dose of the Bugster virus, that way you can build up antibodies to it. That's the same way as us getting inoculated for, say, the flu shot every year. In that sense, it's not really an operation, but I'm wondering if more was done to Emu, and it seems that's the case. Before the fighting really got started, Kujo went over to Dr. Kyotaro and asked him, "Hey, we know that, according to the records, you were the person who operated on Emu all those years ago, but did you really do everything that's written on this paper, or there's a little more that you did?" Basically, that's Kujo hinting to Dr. Kyotaro, "I think I know what you did. You did a lot more to Emu than what's on this paper, and I'm inclined to believe that." But of course, that remains to be seen for the rest of the series, so who knows? So what do you guys think will happen? Do you think Dr. Kyotaro actually operated on Emu all those years ago? Do you think Graphite's gonna bite the dust for good next week? And what the hell is Popey People Popo doing out there on the field anyway? She didn't do anything. I mean, seriously. You can tell me in the comments below or over on social media. On Twitter, I'm at JoshKnight1st. This has been another Kamen Rider Exade replay for episode 9 of the series, Beat Up the Dragon. I'm Josh Knight the First, and I'll see you guys again next week.